You think you know someone, but sometimes the truth is far from what you see on the surface. I want to share my story, not because I want attention, but because people deserve to know what really happened behind closed doors. My name is ex-husband name, and for years, I believed I was married to the woman of my dreams. On the outside, everything looked perfect. Friends, family, even social media painted a picture of a happy, loving couple. But behind that image, things were very different. There were secrets, moments that didn't add up, and feelings I couldn't explain at the time. I kept quiet because I wanted to believe the woman I loved was the same person everyone else saw. But the truth has a way of coming out, whether we're ready for it or not. And now, I can't stay silent any longer. I met her when I least expected to, and at first, everything felt like a dream. She was charming, confident, and seemed to understand me in ways no one else did. We laughed together, shared our hopes and fears, and I honestly believed I had found my soulmate. Our friends and family admired our relationship. They said we were perfect for each other. On social media, she always posted happy pictures, captions full of love, and messages that made everyone believe we had an unbreakable bond. In the beginning, it felt real. Every smile, every hug, every word we exchanged seemed genuine. But soon, little things started to feel off. She would disappear for hours without explanation. Her phone was always with her, and sometimes she would get defensive over the smallest questions. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself that I was just being paranoid, that my trust in her should be enough. But deep down, a tiny voice kept telling me that maybe everything wasn't as perfect as it looked. Looking back, the first cracks in our so-called perfect life were already there. I just didn't want to see them. It all started with small things I couldn't explain. Little inconsistencies, unexplained absences, and vague excuses that didn't sit right with me. At first, I tried to brush them off, telling myself I was imagining things, that maybe I was overthinking, but the signs kept piling up. I noticed her becoming secretive about her phone, hiding messages, and taking calls in private. Sometimes she would laugh at something on her phone and immediately look guilty when I glanced at her. I began to feel a knot in my stomach every time she went out alone. Then came the moments I could no longer ignore. I stumbled upon messages that made my heart stop. Messages with people I never expected, conversations that didn't make sense, and pictures that painted a story I wasn't ready to accept. The woman I loved, the one I had believed in completely, was living a life I had no idea existed. It wasn't just small lies. It was a whole side of her that I had never known. I felt betrayed, confused, and more than anything, heartbroken. I tried to confront her gently at first, asking questions, hoping for an explanation that would make everything okay. But the answers I received were always vague, defensive, or dismissive. The more I dug, the more pieces of the puzzle I uncovered, each one harder to swallow than the last. Nights were sleepless, filled with anxiety and disbelief. Every time I thought I understood her, I found another secret, another lie, another truth she had hidden from me. It became clear that the person I had married, the woman everyone admired, the one I thought I knew, was someone entirely different behind closed doors. The perfect life we showed the world was nothing but a carefully constructed illusion. After weeks of trying to convince myself that I was overreacting, I finally confronted her. I remember standing in our living room, my hands shaking, my heart pounding, and asking her questions I had been holding inside for months. I wanted honesty, a single truth I could hold on to, but what I got instead was silence, excuses, and deflection. She denied things I knew were true, blamed circumstances, and even tried to make me feel guilty for questioning her. That moment was crushing. It wasn't just about lies anymore. It was about realizing that the person I had loved and trusted was capable of hiding a completely different life from me. Emotionally, I felt torn apart. Anger surged through me, followed by confusion and deep sadness. I questioned every moment we had shared together. Was it ever real, or was I living in a fantasy? Friends and family noticed the change in me, but I couldn't fully explain the storm brewing inside. Sleep became impossible, meals lost their taste, and my mind was consumed with trying to piece together the truth from the fragments I had discovered. The fallout didn't just affect me emotionally. It started to affect my social world as well. Mutual friends began noticing tension, subtle whispers spread, and suddenly the perfect image of our marriage that everyone admired began to crumble in front of me. Worst part, feeling like I had to carry this secret alone while the world continued to see us as the ideal couple. By the end of that confrontation, I knew there was no going back. The life I thought I had, the love I thought I shared, was gone. And the woman I once believed I knew was someone I would never recognize again. After that confrontation, I realized there was no way I could piece everything together on my own. The lies weren't small. They were layers upon layers of deception, carefully hidden behind the image of the perfect wife and partner. I started going through everything I could find: old messages, emails, things she had said, pictures she thought I wouldn't see. Every discovery made my stomach twist, every secret hurt more than the last. It wasn't just that she had betrayed my trust in small ways. It was a complete double life, a life I could never have imagined existed. I uncovered things that shook me to my core. The person I had married, the woman I believed was loving, loyal, and devoted, was involved in situations that no husband should ever have to imagine. She had hidden relationships, manipulations, and actions that were completely at odds with the woman everyone else saw on the outside. Every time I thought I had reached the bottom, I found another layer, another truth she had been living in secret. It was like discovering an entirely different person inside the person I loved. The most painful part wasn't just the betrayal itself. It was realizing that all the years of love, trust, and commitment I had invested had been given to someone who wasn't who I thought she was. I replayed memories over and over, questioning if any moment had been genuine. The life I had known, the home we shared, the dreams we planned together, all of it felt like it had been built on illusions. And while I carried this truth alone, I understood one thing: no one outside our lives would ever truly know the depths of what happened. It was mine to bear until now. Facing this truth was terrifying, overwhelming, and heartbreaking all at once. But acknowledging it was the first step toward freedom, toward understanding, and toward finally being able to move forward. I could no longer pretend that everything was fine. The woman I thought I knew, the life I thought I shared, was gone. And the real story, the truth behind the mask, had to be told. Looking back now, I realized that this experience, as painful as it was, taught me a lot about trust, love, and the human side of relationships. I learned that people are more complex than we can ever imagine, and sometimes even those we love the most can hide parts of themselves we would never expect. It also taught me the importance of listening to my instincts and not ignoring the small signs when something feels off. Trust is precious, and once it's broken, the process of rebuilding, or even just accepting the truth, can be long and painful. At the same time, I learned to forgive myself for being unaware, for loving someone wholeheartedly without seeing the full picture. It wasn't my fault that she chose to hide the truth, and it wasn't my failure as a partner. Life doesn't come with guarantees, and people aren't always who they seem to be. But the one thing I could control was how I responded, how I processed this experience, and how I moved forward. I grew stronger, wiser, and more aware of what healthy love and trust really mean. This story isn't just about betrayal or heartbreak. It's a reminder that even in the darkest, most confusing moments, there's a chance to learn, to heal, and to rebuild. I can't change the past, and I can't undo what happened, but I can share my story so that others understand the importance of being true to themselves and careful about who they trust. Life is full of lessons, and this was one of the hardest, but also one of the most eye-opening. The truth is never simple. It's messy, painful, and often forces you to confront things about people, and even yourself, that you never thought you would have to. Living in denial may seem easier, pretending that everything is fine may feel comfortable, but deep down, you know that ignoring the truth only prolongs the pain. I carried this secret for years, replaying memories in my mind, questioning every smile, every word, every moment we shared. And the hardest part wasn't just discovering the betrayal. It was realizing that I had invested my love, my trust, and my heart into someone whose true self I barely knew. Sharing this story isn't about shaming her or trying to settle scores. It's about honesty, clarity, and finally setting the record straight, not just for myself, but for anyone who may be going through something similar. Life teaches us lessons in the hardest ways, and sometimes the only way to truly move forward is to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable or painful it may be. Trust your instincts, listen to the little signs, and never ignore the feeling in your gut when something doesn't